Yom Kippur is the holiday of transformation, of trust in new possibilities, of belief in our capacity to change. Our ancestor Abraham is a good role model for such change and trusting in new possibilities. The first time God speaks to Abraham in Torah, God instructs Abraham to leave everything he knows behind and set out on a new path. As far as the story goes, this is utterly baffling. We know almost nothing about Abraham at this point. We have no idea why God is suddenly displaying interest in this person, or why Abraham so fully trusts a God he has never spoken to before. Yet, trust he does. Such gaps in storytelling are the bread and butter of classical midrash, which treats such gaps not as a problem, but rather as a gateway and opportunity through which the ancient story can become our own. In one such midrash, the rabbis create a background story, a prior interaction between God and Abraham to explain the dramatic Lech Lecha, go into this journey. They compare Abraham to a traveler who is walking on the road when he sees a bira doleket, a bira doleket. The word bira, and just because of my accent, people don't know if I'm saying bida or bira. It's a resh, not a dalet. So it's bira or bira, or you would probably say bira. But I can't do that. So I'll go with bira doleket. The word bira is pretty straightforward. It means a large building or a palace. The word doleket is more complicated, and we will go back to it in a moment. But it is related to the word lehadlik that we say when we bless the candles. So it has something to do with light or fire. In any case, the Midrash says that the travelers sing a bira doleket, and he is surprised when he sees that. He stops and wonders upon seeing the seemingly abandoned building. Is it possible that this place does not have a caretaker? At that moment, says the Midrash, God responds and says, I am the caretaker. I am the owner of this place. So back to the bira doleket. As earlier commentators on this midrash note, the word doleket could mean that the place is full of light, or it could mean that the palace is going up in flames. The ambiguity obviously creates the possibility for two very different stories. What is that the traveler or Abraham encounters on his journey? Is the palace burning down, or is it radiant with light? Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, in his book, God in Search of Man, reads the story both ways. Heschel believes that this story about Abraham is about the human journey to discover God. The search for God, Heschel taught, begins with wonder and mystery. It is only when the person traveling down the road of life realizes how full of light and beauty this magnificent world we live in is, that we begin our search for God. The story of Abraham is the story of a person who wakes up for long enough to have a moment of what Heschel calls radical amazement. And from that moment, he begins traveling with God. But Heschel, who lost his family in the Holocaust, literally the burning, must also acknowledge the traveler who encounters a world going up in flames. For this person, or in this moment of life, the tone of the traveler's questions is accusatory. Have we been dropped into a world which has no caretaker? This too, Heschel says, is a truth of human religion and spirituality. It is also these moments of horror and despair that makes humans sensitive to the ultimate questions. These days, it feels very much as if we are living in the second version of the story. Almost everywhere we look, it is as if the palace is on fire and the world is burning. A new Jewish year is beginning, but it is beginning in the midst of tremendous ongoing pain and suffering. As we look into the future of this planet and of this country, the image of a palace on fire feels real and scary. And yet, in our story, Abram does not run away or give up. He stops in his tracks and cares enough to respond, to challenge God, to take responsibility, to create a partnership in caretaking. And then God challenges Abraham to set out on this journey without knowing where it will end. But the ambiguity of the word doleket does more than tell us that two separate stories are possible. The word turning either way teaches us that at any given moment, in any situation, we can see light or we can see destruction. Rabbi Sharon Brous challenges us to see both at the same time. If all we see when we look at the world is heartache, we need to rediscover the beauty. And if all we see is endless beauty, we need to be reminded that there's a lot of brokenness out there that needs fixing. Many of us grew up with solemn Yom Kippur services. Maybe not the kids here, but many of us. But that's only one understanding of the day. Just as the leket holds multitudes, so does this holy day. We also know that today is one of the two most joyous days of the year. לא היו ימים טובים לישראל כ15 באב וכיום הכיפורים, says the Mishnah. There were no days more joyous than the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur. The Mishnah described these 2 days as joyous because they are dedicated to new love and new possibilities. I love thinking about Yom Kippur as a joyous day. It is a joyous day, definitely at TVZ. On this day, we face mortality, but we also face possibility. Yom Kippur comes to teach us how much is possible. You can make new choices. You can change. The world can change. Our country can be different. We can look forward to something new. How amazing this is. Isn't it amazing? Yeah? Oh, okay, just checking. Okay. We have gathered as a community to support each other in saying, we are going to change, I am going to change, and you are going to change. We gather as a community to say that what is doesn't have to be, it can all be different. And it is so sweet to hear this. We need to hear this. especially now. And we need to create vessels to hold and cultivate this resolve. In the Haftarah that Molly beautifully read earlier, the prophet Isaiah offers two such vessels. The Haftarah begins with a call to rebuild the road, to move away all blocks or obstacles that are in the way, so that God's people can live in freedom. The prophet raises his voice, crying out loud and clear that religious ritual without moral action does not achieve the goals of a fast day, and concludes by reminding us that it is through Shabbat that we can get closer to the possibility of redemption. Every year I find this reading powerful. On Yom Kippur, we are told you can change, we can change, the world can be different, but Isaiah gives us the tools to realize the power of these days so that it can go beyond the pretty declarations and a one-day fast. The first vessel to hold our communal resolve for transformation and make it real is care for the needy. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, house the homeless, heal the wounded. Straightforward. Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, house the homeless, heal the wounded. Isaiah teaches us that when you take care of the least fortunate among you, God will be there. The possibility of redemption and hope is in your hands. It is in our hands. The second vessel Isaiah offers is in the instructions about Shabbat at the end of the Haftarah. Why does he shift from social justice activism to talking about Shabbat? Rabbi Menachem Nahum of Chernobyl, known as the Meor Einaim, explained that the essence of Shabbat is the experience that nothing is lacking. He writes, a person engaged in work in response to a need, there is something lacking that will be completed through the work. Shabbat, being perfect in all aspects, lacks nothing, and it's no work to fulfill any need. Therefore, our sages taught that you should celebrate Shabbat as if all your work is done and you lack nothing. Shabbat teaches us that we have to allow ourselves to really taste the experience of everything being okay, in order to truly believe that it is possible in our world. How can we believe that something is truly possible if we have never experienced at least a taste of it? Shabbat is a powerful symbol of a world transformed, of what life could look like if we do the necessary work. Even if we never get there, every Shabbat can move us a little closer. So here we are in this Yom Kippur, and a gift is being offered to us. The gift to change, the gift to grow, the gift to move forward, to believe our country can change, our world can change, humans can do better, and I am ready to accept the gift. I hope you are too. Are you? Yes. So how do we anchor this change? We remember our power and capacity in that in any situation, we can choose to see light or see destruction. If when we look up, all that we can see is a broken world, we need to work on rediscovering the beauty. And if all we see is beauty, we need to be reminded that there's a lot of brokenness out there that needs fixing. We act and commit ourselves to help the weakest. We care for other human beings. We do not lose our humanity. We commit to create and build societies where people take seriously our responsibility to care for each other, and we continuously uphold the vision and experience of a transformed world. Our job as a community is to support one another and hold one another accountable. Together we can change, and together we can create a better world. Shabbat Shalom, Gmar Chatima Tova.